Okay, this video is still not the full big bulk of the cards. This is 11 separate cards that I pushed outside of the bulk submission. So if I've posted these in order and you're following in order, we just recently did, not too long ago, the video on our cards we hit the BGS, a video of our separate 4-card submission to PSA. That those 4 cards were an in-person handoff. These 11 were a mail-in. I did want to get these graded for reasons ahead of time. Again, kind of the same criteria remains. Hopefully you played Guess the Grades, and I can look back on those prior videos and see if you guessed right and maybe send you a prize. And if I have to send any of these cards in based on our standards of guesses, I'll probably let you pick the grader to which I resend them into. Hopefully not the same grader to which they were just submitted to. So these cards are 11 cards submitted to PSA. And we can tell where we're at because I wrote the word push in blue on my grade sheet, so I knew which ones I was pulling out. Why? Because I was again setting these on a slightly higher grade value. So these were $40 grades, but they were on a discount. So it was something like if you submitted at least 10 cards at the $40 grade value, it was only going to be like $25 per card. Ironically still though, even with it being in the $40 grade value, I got what I paid for in regards to the PSA, because it does seem like they still just treated it like the $25 cards. They missed their deadlines, and again, like I started to state in the correlations that I've been seeing, I don't think the cards really received the grades that they should have received just because I didn't pay enough for the grade. So the first card is a Delta EX 2005 Vaporeon. I guessed 8 to 9. The card did receive an 8, so I may not resend this in. I do think it is off center. However, we're not sure if that's what PSA saw, because PSA doesn't tell you why you received the grade. So left to right, a little off center, top to bottom, a little bit top heavy compared to bottom heavy. Other than that, I don't see anything wrong with the front of the card. It's almost 0 scratches. Very nice card, very nice Vaporeon card. And again, as this card goes up from an 8 to 9, it doesn't just jump 50 to 60 bucks. From an 8 to 9, it jumps several hundred. From a 9 to 10, it jumps into the thousands. I don't think the card is a 10. That I can tell you now. We do have some whitening within the border and then also on the edge. I'm not going to resubmit this one. An 8 is fair. This is somewhere in the cusp of a weird 8 to 9, which is why I said 8 to 9. Other than that, very good card, and this I think is fair. This one we'll move on from. So we'll go ahead. What we're doing, at least on my sheet now, is I've put a circle and I'm giving it a check within the circle to say we're good with that grade. There's no need to resubmit to a different grader. Next was Radiant Collection, Sylveon RC21, RC32. And this is what I'm getting at, by the way. And these were old. I don't know if these are still accurate. I made this back when I submitted them. But at a 9, the card's worth $100. At a 10, the card's worth $1,300. I can only imagine nearly 180 days later, these numbers are actually probably low. It's probably closer to 202,000 by this point. My biggest regret, one of my biggest regrets, is not putting my foot down on buying the heck out of Radiant Collection, because Radiant Collection definitely was, I mean, people were giving them away. a lot of people did not like Radiant Collection. I think mostly because Radiant Collection floated around this whole prissy, beautiful little girl thing, when really there isn't a lot of good art going on. There's cards that aren't so girly, but you know, they've just got a lot going on, and I think they're a tidbit more interesting than your standard holo. Yeah, I agree to not getting a 10. Centering alone killed me. This is way fatter on the left than it is the right. Other than that, man, this card could have 10 had the centering just not been atrocious. And sadly, it's one of those cases to where it's still a little thicker even on the back. Sometimes you get it to where it's no change in terms of centering on the back. It's just the front is atrocious. But to be honest, I think a 9 is pretty fair, more than fair. Yeah, it is definitely thicker. So this one is good to go. I concur with this receiving a 9, which is sad because a 10 is definitely way more desirable, at least financially. Okay, so I accidentally wrote pushed here, and that was on the Japanese base Mewtwo, which I was expecting a 9 out of 10, but it's really the shadowless English Mewtwo that I pushed, which I was expecting an 8. This one I might send to tag, because I'm not exactly sure how we got this low. So expected an 8. As you've seen across the videos, I'm pretty good at guessing the grade. The borders look thick, but let me stop you there. They're evenly thick. They're thick left, they're thick right, they're thick top, they're thick bottom. It is thick all around. The reason why I move the card like this in the video is so we can see that there is no surface damage. What you're seeing, that fingerprint, that's me touching the slab. There's no surface damage on this card. I don't think if you've never dealt with WotC cards, I don't think you understand how rare it is to have a WotC holo and the holo to be 0 scratches. Just mirror finish WotC holo. Which, again, I'm getting at, how did this card receive a 6? Go to the back. We'll go ahead and we'll zoom in. There is one speck of whitening, a little bit on the edge, but we just went over some other cards where I showed you to where all 4 corners had whitening. This one, I wouldn't say all 4 corners do. Okay, an 8 might be a reach. I think a 6 is a falsehood. I think a 7 would have been an appropriate grade for this. This I might resubmit to tag, because again, I get the borders are thick, but it's not one side heavy. It's the same thickness all around, therefore centering is good. But I've made my note. I will probably resubmit this card to tag. I will, of course, also break it out of its slab. Little bourbon break. This next one gets me a little upset. So it's a Mega X, Mega Rayquaza, Hollow. I guessed 8 to 9. These prices are actually low. I believe as an 8, it now goes for around 1,200, and as a 9, around 3,500. I sadly did this video submission live, and this card, the recording blurred out on. So I have no good video evidence of how the card looked before I submitted it. I submitted this in as the $40 value card, which I believe is insured at the $500. I think PSA damaged my card. I don't think they did it purposely, but I think they did it carelessly. Again, you've seen how I have guessed the grades almost to a T. I guessed 8 to 9. I gave myself a 2-way variance. I think I have a 100% win rate on my 2-way variance guesses. This card received a 6. Now I see damage on it now, and sadly I can't go back to the video before submission because it's blurred out. I did a live instead of a recording. And I didn't know it would have issues like that. And I can't find... I'm almost certain that I had pack pulled this card, because I don't remember buying this out of anyone's collection. If you're new to my channel, I bought a lot of people's collections over the years, but I don't remember buying this in anyone's collection. I am pretty certain I pack pulled this card. It's a very cool card. I understand why it's worth so much. The hype behind it, the chase. Even with the damage to it, I still think a 6 is a bit atrocious. So I may resubmit this. I don't know if I'll resubmit a tag or to CGC, but I'm not exactly happy with a PSA 6. There's whitening, that's fine. Whitening, that's fine. Whitening. 4 corners of whitening, but minimal 4 corners. I'd definitely say it's at least a 7. And I guessed 8 to 9. So at least a 7 would have been closer. I have to look into this in regards to CGCing it. It's a shame that this didn't 8 or 9, because I'm almost certain this was a pack pull by me. And I've been going through my videos. I wish I had titled my videos better so I could find this if this was a pack pull. Front's great. Back, a couple bits of whitening. This nick, though, that's what I was getting at. I don't remember this card having this nick. And the reason why I get into that, you'll find out very soon as to what I'm getting at, and why I wish I had a good video of the card before I submitted it. Which, again, I reiterate, get good videos of your cards before you submit them. Because in this video, you're going to find out why I say that. And we're almost to the point as to why I say that. Okay. Next up is a base set Charizard, to which I guessed a 7. And ta-da! 7. And look, in my opinion, I mean, let's get a good zoom on it. The corner seems slightly bent, in my opinion. This bottom corner, it's not really quite right. There's scratches in the hollow. And I'm not getting negative on this. I'm trying to show people what a 7 is. There's what we got nicks along the edge. And this is what I'm getting at. That Rayquaza should have minimum 7. Whitening. Whitening on all 4 corners. If you don't know, I put my finger behind the card so you can see the whitening. If someone's selling cards with a white background and they refuse to give you a different color background, they're trying to cover up the whitening. Now, that one 100% agree with. 7, I guess a straight 7. That was our base set Charizard. This is where I'm gonna have to make a whole separate video, but this is where we get into I don't want to say PSA conspiracy, because it's not conspiracy. This just happened to me. This card, which you can see in earlier videos and also submission videos, is supposed to be a black dot Charizard. PSA sent me back a base set Charizard. For those who don't know what a black dot Charizard is, it is simply a base set Charizard that has a black dot ink error, usually somewhere around here. I mean, honestly, the black dot could be anywhere in the card, but typically it's right around here. If you look at my submission videos, I show the card with a black dot somewhere around here. I even show myself trying to rub it off to show that it's a genuine black dot Charizard. The reason why this is so important, there is less than 400 PSA graded black dot Charizards. I want to reiterate that. I didn't say there's less than 400 PSA 10 black dot Charizards. There is less than 400 graded, period, PSA black dot Charizards. It is an extremely undervalued, underspoken of card. I think some people don't even think it exists, and they think it's just a rumor, and they think they see fake ones on eBay. It's such an extremely undervalued card. So, the story, which I will do again in a much deeper dive video. I submitted the card, Black Dot Charizard, to PSA. They received it. They even did the initial scan. In the initial scan, you can see the black dot. Then when I got to the quality assurance phase, which is near one of the last phases, I noticed the black dot was missing. I brought this up to PSA. They assured me the card had not been switched and that it was simply debris that came off the card. However, in my earlier videos, I tried to vigorously rub off that black dot. I also show video to where you can clearly see that is 100% a part of the card. PSA claims that they reviewed footage and they cannot find any misconduct. However, I was never sent said footage. Now, I will do a separate video with the emails back and forth with PSA and what the card originally looked like to include that's in the emails with PSA. Where it gets even funnier is PSA told me when they sealed it, the sealing machine air blows debris off the card. I have another buddy who submitted cards to PSA, and all of a sudden there's debris on his cards. And they claimed, oh, well, during the sealing process, it must have blew debris into the card. Because he is also under the same suspicion that I am for certain cards. They are swapping out cards. In fact, right before I made this video, there is a video about a Topps Charizard, which I learned something new. I didn't know that on the back of the Topps Charizards, where it says Topps and the little flag area, it comes in different colors, and blue being one of the rarest. And that person submitted it, and in the PSA photo stand, the first stand, it's blue. And in the second stand, it's black. The cheapest of the Topps Charizards. So I can't send this in for regrading. It's just not this card. It's not what I submitted. And I'll reiterate this in the more in-depth video, but I want to go ahead and knock this out now. PSA told me, well, in their defense, that the black dot on my black dot Charizard wasn't where the black dot 100% is. Therefore, it definitely couldn't be a black dot Charizard. I want to reiterate, that's not how misprints work. A misprint is a mistake at the factory. To include, that misprint ideal could occur anywhere on the card because it's on a roller with various tap presses coming down to print the card. Now, on my black dot Charizard, you can go review my videos. My black dot is somewhere here, and typically the black dot might be somewhere here. So a millimeter, centimeter off to where it usually would be. Why am I showing you this Charmander? I don't think it's known at all that you can have a black dot error Charmander. In fact, after dealing with my black dot Charizard, I'm definitely not submitting this card to PSA. One thing, and I'm showing you now, and I've done this in other videos to kind of show things, how to know what is and isn't actually a part of the card. You can see when I move this card slightly, the light gleams in a way to where it kind of blocks off all the text, because the stock press of the card creates this gleam. So all of this ink is under pressure, and that creates this kind of film on top. So if I were to take something and add ink to it, you'd actually see it standing out over the white gleam, which is another thing that I do with that Charizard. The white gleam shows over the black dot. I don't have one for example, but if I were to take this card and take a Sharpie or a drip of paint and put it on there, when I go like this, you would have this white glare space, but you would just have a black dot clearly showing on top of the glare space, just like how my finger shows on top of the glare space. Just that ink is not from the manufacturer. It's not from the pressure when they finish rolling and pressing the card. So according to PSA, This is not a black dot error Charmander because they don't have black dot error Charmanders. So I've just shown you, at least with the light, that it 100% is a part of the manufacturer. And then with a good vigorous rubbing, I'm not going to use my nail to not damage the card, but a good vigorous rubbing and a good zoom in, we can see that that is 100% a black dot error Charmander. PSA doesn't even have an option for it. And I understand that. That's fine. You don't have to have an option for everything. Because misprints, unless it's a very common misprint, to which there is at least several hundred black dot Charizards, enough misprints to be known, there's no reason to have that label in your system. But you should always allow for the option. If such a rare occurrence occurred, you'd allow it to be labeled as such. I can't send this card into PSA under the fear that this card will be swapped out. PSA will tell me that, oh, this was just debris on the card. I did not have a one-of-one super hyper extreme rare black dot dark Charmander. I was imagining things, it was debris. Our videos do not show the card being swiped out. Sorry, so sorry, we can do nothing about it. I do want to be clear in my email with PSA. You know what? Again, when I make that separate video and I show you the emails and I go deeper into the subject, you'll enjoy it when you watch it. I do 100% believe PSA swaps out cards. If they're rare enough and they think they can get away with it, in terms of it being a dot, they'll do it. I 100% believe PSA swaps out cards. I really want to reiterate, there's less than 400. Less than 400, not 400 PSA 10. There is less than 400 graded black dot Charizards. And I think if you give PSA the opportunity to continue to narrow down and the ability to capture and completely hold a monopoly on a certain card, they will. And I think they did that with my black dot Charizard. Moving forward. I thought moving forward, there definitely is a card missing that I had. Oh, there we go. Oh, I push. 2016 Gyarados EX XY Power 10. I guessed 9 to 10. I got a 9. Again, it's one of those cards that the price just jumps up drastically if it's a 10 versus a 9. But I do kind of see it. The centering is not really great on this card. So, and I'm pretty certain I saw that when I submitted it. And this is one of those cards to where the centering's great on the back, but on the front, it's a little bit right heavy compared to left. And it's like the corners are just kind of weird. I don't know if I'll resubmit this. The issue for me is the price difference is pretty drastic. I'd have to look. If I am going to resubmit it, oh man, I really have to compare. I will consider both CGC and tag for that one. Why am I not putting BGS down as an option anymore? It's just not worth it unless it's on black label. And then on top of that, PSA owns BGS now. I don't want to send anything to BGS now that it's basically just PSA. All right, up next is a funny card. You gotta go back and see my story on this. I received this card basically for free. I guess there's a 7. I got a 6. That's really what I was kind of expecting. 7 was actually being more hopeful. This is a last of the WotC era. Pretty cool card. Just, they did a great job on this one in terms of the art, the color, the style, the idea, when they started to kind of go away from the original elements of the Pokemon. Whitening, and it's fairly rough whitening. It's not super basic whitening. Credit of 7, yeah, possibly. It's actually really great front for this card. Again, that WotC Hollow stuff is it's just super easy to scratch. Credit of 7, yeah, probably. Honestly though, yeah, a little front nick. I'm fine with a 6 on this card. It is what it is. Maybe I'll just look at some CGC versions for comparables. I do think CGC is a good bit more lenient than PSA. I have my reasons for that, but honestly, a 6, I think I'm fine with this card being a 6. Very cool Kabutops. Oh, jeez. All right. This next card is... I said if it's within a 1 difference, I wouldn't resubmit. But since this was a variance guess, and it was out of the variance, I might resubmit. I knew it really went at 10. I would have been very surprised had it 10. This card, if you don't know, is worth, like, last I checked, 9 to 10 grand as a 10. It's got some front scratches in the hollow. This one wasn't really a 10. They gave me a 7. I guessed 8 to 9. Yeah, center's kind of off. Corners could be better. Little bit of whitening. We'll zoom in on that. I mean, it's super minor whitening. You have to understand how zoomed in I am. This should have aided. I'm super zoomed in. Those scratches are super minor. Again, I think maybe someone's having a bad day. I won't write to regrade, but I'm gonna write really 8. And I'll see what the price difference is compared to a 7 and see if it's really worth the time and effort. It just is what it is, sadly. Would have been a great card to 10, though. That one wouldn't have 10. I live in reality, everybody. I'll check it off for now. Now, what was really strange is I couldn't find these last 2 cards on my sheet. And I could have sworn I remember putting them down on my sheet. Unfortunately, I don't remember what I guessed for this card. I don't think this one made it on the sheet. I think I just made a quick short on this for my guess. I think I guessed 10. Honestly, that would have been super optimistic. I think 9 probably would have been more realistic. 7 seems wild. I don't think those scratches are on the card. I think those kind of scratches are actually just on the top loader. In fact, I'm almost certain those scratches are on the top loader and not the card. Yeah, tiny nick there. Not really anything there. Not too much there. Yeah, 7 was kind of an atrocious grade for this. Not really certain what happened. This card does start to jump up in value as you get out of the 7 range. So that's the only thing I can think of. But again, I paid for the $400, $500 card, so they should have at least given it an 8 to 9. Yeah, the corner's a little wonky and funky. I don't know. I don't think they should have 7'd. This next one, I had thought was perfect. Maybe I was just really stuck on the borders and the hollow. Because again, I really want to reiterate, this level of smooth and WotC holographic is just, it's just muy bien. It's a first edition Dark Hypno. One of the things I liked about Dark cards is they weren't just some elemental color background. They put some detail in the background. You got Hypno, you got like these eyes that are supposed to be hypnotizing you, taking control over you. Really, it's basically the eyes from Yu-Gi-Oh! But they put some detail. It's a checkered pattern. It's kind of, you know, it's got that kind of 80s mystique, Mysterio taking over hypnotic vibe. You know, a bit more is going on into these dark cards. But I guess there's some things I missed. I see kind of some version of front whitening. Maybe it's better this way. But maybe I'm seeing things. Maybe it's just the camera. The borders, again, they're thick, but they're evenly thick. The corners aren't super crisp, but there's really nothing wrong with them. I think a 9 would have been way more fair than an 8. It's like you kind of have to almost see the whitening. You gotta understand, I'm zoomed in at a 5. This should have at least 9. An 8 is atrocious. I don't think I get this one regraded. A 10 would have been awesome. I originally thought this would 10. I'd have to re-look at the video. I know that the borders at least looked like this, but I don't remember there being any whitening. I cannot wait. I already know the grades for most of these things. As I said, I've got... Oh, I'm going to have to really zoom out here. I've got this bulk submission. And bulk doesn't necessarily mean cheap, but I've got this bulk submission, okay? And I've got 96 plus cards, or 96 cards, 96 submission pieces. And I am excited to go through it. I already know some things have skyrocketed in value in this submission. And I'm glad they did it after submission completion. Otherwise, PSA would have upcharged me. Excited to go through that. Excited to make some more videos of what I'm sending in and to where I'm sending it in. Sad to say, but because of some grades, because of some interactions, and because of also, again, I do truly believe my Black Dot Charizard got swapped off the PSA grading line. I am barely certain I am completely done with sending stuff into PSA. I think everybody should be, with how much stuff's come out. I think there has been enough video evidence, and I'm really hoping that with the videos I produce from it and the evidence to which there is, I hope it spreads throughout the community, and I hope we can finally put the nail in the coffin on PSA. That being said, I hope you guys guess the grades. I hope you can kind of get away with some of the data in terms of what these cards look like raw before we sent them in, what they looked like when they came back, and what to expect for your grades when you send cards in. We're going to go forward with some other graders like CGC and Tag and see how that goes, and see if my grade guessing is far off from them. As you can see, my grade guessing has been pretty damn near accurate with PSA. So I'm actually really excited to see how things go with Tag and CGC. CGC, as far as we're aware of, is a bit more lenient. Tag's supposed to be harder, but I've kind of heard in the community lately that they've actually kind of backed off a little bit. And that's fine. I think tags backed off to the point where their grading is equivalent to PSA. Originally, as far as I could tell, original tag grading was harder than even BGS. I think a tag 10 was something super hard to strive for, and I really wish tag had done something a bit more to make it stand out like how BGS does. And because BGS is aware that they're a bit of a harder grader, but I think BGS, even before they were bought by PSA, recently became for it for the money. PSA is 100% for the money. It's a whole other subject, whole other video. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and end it here, and hopefully the next video will be about these 96 PSA items that I received back.